I am really excited to be joined by Tim Myers, who is running for Congress in the 41st District in
Right.
California in
Yeah.
the upcoming 2026 midterm election, which
Yeah.
who knows when people will listen to this.
Yeah.
But assuming people listen when it gets posted within the first year, you will be running for Congress. So let
Yes.
me first introduce you. Obviously, you have been a musician. You're not a lifelong politician.
Hmm.
That word has been used a lot in today's political climate. I'm not a
Absolutely.
politician, but
Yeah.
you're very interesting because, obviously you've been part of, well, OneRepublic. You
Hmm.
founded OneRepublic along with Ryan Tedder and Zach
Yeah.
and some
Yeah.
others. And on
Yeah.
top of that, you've also written songs for some great people, many of whom I've interviewed, Five for Fighting American authors.
Nice.
So
Okay.
we
Yeah.
have something in common already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so welcome to the show.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
So what made you, somebody who has been in the music world, want to jump in and get involved in politics? Because already, as you mentioned in your ad, you've seen people get ripped off in the entertainment industry.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
made you want to get involved in politics?
I grew up a pastor's kid. My dad, I saw him just give his life to service. He literally would hold people's hands when they were in hospital beds. He'd pray with them when they were passing away. Feeding the homeless. Every Thanksgiving, he would take us out and feed the homeless. And he gave his life for service. He didn't make much money. We didn't grow up with money. I would have to mow lawns and do all the things. I had to pay for my own shoes and do all that kind of stuff. And there was always kind of this fear of losing the house too, growing up, which was kind of a thing, which is hard when you're growing up. But he really instilled in us to serve and to help others. So, now the second part of my life, being 40 and transitioning and looking at from 40 to 80, what do I want to do? And that's to give back and help others. And so, running here in California is all about helping others and serving the people.
And obviously, what's so fun about this interview is you've obviously been involved in music, so I have that in common
Yeah.
so much. And now you're running for
Yeah.
politics, which I interned for the Secretary of State's office last year, and I'm currently interning for the Lieutenant Governor's office.
Yeah.
Away from my show, I want to clarify that. But we have politics and music in common. We might
Yeah.
disagree on some things, but I'm here to interview you. So, what's kind of your biggest issue? Obviously, you're running on things such as climate change, ending homelessness, affordable housing, making
Yeah.
California the Golden State. What
Hmm.
if you had to pick one issue, what's the biggest one in your opinion right now?
I'd say there's, three that are really, really big for me. And one of them is crime and homelessness here in California. Whether you're red or blue, you can agree that the crime and homelessness situation is out of control. I just read a stat that 28% of our nation's homeless people are here in California. A third of our citizens here in California are in or near poverty. So, whether you're Democrat or Republican, we can all agree that California needs to be fixed. It's broken. And, I don't want to point fingers at any one particular person, all I can look at is the future. And all I know that I want to do is fix California and make it a better place. And I think, whether I'm talking to my friends that are Republican, whether I'm talking to my friends that are Democrats or independents, we all agree that we need to fix this. And so, crime and homelessness, I want to see our state cleaned up. Climate change, this is huge, and we've seen the wildfires. I've been evacuated 3 times. There's nothing like seeing your kids crying, what toy do I grab, and it's heartbreaking. And I've had many, many friends lose their homes. So yeah, there's a lot of changes that need to be done.
Have you been able to play the guitar at all on the campaign trail yet?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like, so I helped out with this prop
Does
called
it
Prop.
make Republicans say, forget about the politics I disagree with? I just want to vote for you? Sorry to
Totally.
interrupt. I had to put that in
Yeah,
there.
no, I hope it does. I hope it does, but Yeah, yeah. So I've been able to, play a bit and share some music. And, recently I did a cover of California Dreamin' and made it like a dark kind of epic muse kind of trailery orchestral thing. And, it's fun, playing with some of these, covers, but also, original songs and everything like that. And music is one of those special things that connects with people and it fires people up or it grabs them emotionally and can pull on the heartstrings. So definitely leaning into that.
And for you, what is something that you learned? Because obviously you've seen artists get ripped off, which
Yeah.
is something that for anybody that might not like the politics side of things, you've experienced this, you've seen it happen. I don't know how
Yeah.
much you've experienced it, but how does that relate to you being a good congressman if you were to win?
Absolutely. I mean, it's devastating. Songwriters, they get about $50 to $150 for every million streams. So this is criminal, and a lot of the reasons why are, Spotify, Apple Music, they take a really large portion. And then the labels are taking anywhere from 60 to 85%. And so and it's interesting because all the labels got in early. They all own stock in Spotify, and all these platforms. The songwriters and producers don't. So the system's really rigged right now to benefit major corporations and tech companies, And obviously we need the tech companies. We've seen so many tech companies leave California. I want them to stay here. I don't want them to leave. But we also need to protect our songwriters and our producers and make sure they're getting their fair share. And what I would propose is for every stream, the creators get a penny. That's all I'm asking is a penny. And right now they're getting, it's like 0.001, so it's bad.
And obviously, we see it in concert tours as well. I don't want to get too much into this one, but Live Nation, I see how they've bought music centers in Indiana in the last year and all around the country, and how uh, venues that did free parking are now charging $20 all of a sudden, which has nothing to do with Trump or Biden, but just in
Yeah.
general, Live Nation being an example there. With that being said, I'd be honored to interview the president of Live Nation and ask him questions so that people could know more about it. But back to you.
Yeah.
Obviously, we talked about the music industry, how you've seen it rip off songwriters like that. And I kind of mentioned how it's ripping off now fans who just want to see a concert and
hmm
afford a
hmm
hot dog. But
hmm
for you, what do you think? Do you see this getting better or do you see it getting
Yes.
worse?
No, I see it getting better. I mean, so many people are aware right now, but we need advocates in Congress, right? So the last one that I can think of that was a musician or a famous songwriter was Sonny Bono. I don't know if you know Sonny and Cher, but he was actually, Republican congressman in Palm Springs, actually, which is the area I'm running in. So it's kind of a full circle kind of moment. But he was a big advocate for songwriters, artists, and producers. We need someone in Congress, senator, that is running and helping artists. So, I think, but also, it'd be nice for artists and songwriters to be able to unionize. It's hard because they're considered independent contractors, right? So, there's all these laws that prohibit that, but I think there's ways that we can get around that and make sure artists are protected. It's a really challenging thing because a lot of people look at Taylor Swift and these huge artists, right? And they're like, they're making hundreds of millions of dollars, but that's a very, very tiny, small minority. Most artists are struggling, really, really struggling.
And one thing I'm totally for is making sure, and I want to ask you your perspective on this, and I say this as somebody who does lean right, that it is important to still fund music education in school so that people have something to
Absolutely.
turn to, because we see what happens
Absolutely.
when people become depressed and what happens. I don't need to go any farther with that conversation, but we see where it goes. So I believe that art does need to be funded, just as, obviously you're not going to have 20 art teachers like 20 math teachers, but schools, especially in rural America, and in our big cities need to make sure that they have pathways forward.
100%. I helped out with this prop called Prop 28, and it was bipartisan. We normally it was basically music and arts programs for all of California schools. There was zero Republicans that opposed it because we all agreed this is a good idea, and it passed with flying colors. And it's something we all agree on, right? Is that we all need music and arts, and it needs to be better funded, and we need to help our teachers out and all of that. So
And one other thing I wanted to ask you about is obviously Ticketmaster and things like that. And this is something that President Biden was working on, kind of got somewhere, kind of didn't get somewhere. And even Trump has talked about doing this. Of course, every politician would talk about something like this, but when you get a ticket, it might cost you 20 bucks. Next thing you know, it's 29 bucks on StubHub or whatever. Would you do anything to support legislation to cap that at something?
absolutely, 100%. Fans are just getting ripped off completely, and yeah, we need some more regulations with ticketing and more policies centered around music and arts. And I think with AI coming up, it's a great a starting point that we can maybe package some of these things together. So I would, being in Congress, that's something I want to do right away, honestly, is help out artists and fans.
And obviously, a couple other things I wanted to discuss briefly were what is your advice for young people who want to get involved in music? Obviously, you've been able to succeed at a high level on it. And then why is caring about politics and government important? And this is not a, liberal or conservative question, but just in general.
Yeah, yeah. So, starting off in music, one of the things I would share is right now is such a great time where you can just post your music on, the DSPs on Spotify and Apple Music. Just get your music out there. TV, film, and commercials is a great way to make money. You can just work directly with ad agencies, with different sync houses where they take a commission, like a management commission, say 20%, and they pitch your music to all the different movies and TV shows, and they bring in income for you. So this is just a great way as an independent artist to make money. So I would definitely start there. Caring about politics, the obvious thing, it affects everything, in your life, whether, you're looking to buy a home, whether, crime and homelessness in your area, so caring and being proactive and being an advocate and writing your Congress members, talking to your Congress members is so important.
Agree, no matter what side it's on, and hosting
Yeah,
town halls.
absolutely.
And I think that's something people could respect about, especially Bernie Sanders, is he went on the oligarchy tour to areas like California as well as AOC, Representative Cortez, and then also President Trump. He even held a rally in the Bronx last year, and that is something that takes courage, no matter what he was trying to get out of that. That takes courage to do that. Go there. You don't know what's going to happen. It takes courage to put yourself on the ballot. So I appreciate you sharing that. And then I
Absolutely.
always like to kind of close with some fireball questions, not fireball
Yeah.
shots. I'm not at Purdue University for the next couple months, so
Yeah.
I don't see any fireball shots around me as we talk. And I'm not backstage at a concert.
Well, we got to change that. We got to get you that.
Amen. It's happened a few times. Shout out to
And that's
Vanilla
not a bribe,
Ice.
by the way, just on the record.
I love it. I wish we could do this in person, and I lived in California.
Oh, okay.
But um, obviously, some quick fireball
Yeah.
questions. What is your favorite song? Obviously, you're not with One
Oh,
Republic currently, but post One Republic, you obviously were part of Apologize and Stop and Stare and a lot of the early development of it, which I love both of those songs. And yourself, you've obviously put a lot of commercial tracks on that have gone number one on the Billboard and
mhm.
very high up in the commercial area. But since you've left One Republic, what's a song that you really like with them?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I thought you were going to ask my favorite song in general. So, my favorite song in general is probably Here Comes the Sun. My wife came down to the aisle on that one. But with One Republic, I love like I Lived. That's a really great song and such a great, Ryan Tedder's just an amazing songwriter, right? He's just so phenomenal.
Amen. And then, what is something that you wish you would, or you hope you can change on day one, which is very hard when you're one of 435 members. What would be something that you'd want to get started on day one if you won?
Yeah, I would, it seems like everyone kind of agrees, with the $25,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers. I would love to see all my Gen Z friends, all my millennial friends be able to like start buying homes and getting amazing tax credits for doing that. So yeah, let's just do it. Why not?
And then third question, what is the best thing to do in California? Obviously, there are struggles going on in California, we agree on. But what is something that you think maybe people who just hear about how California has a big homeless encampment or how it's
Mhm.
expensive or the wildfires, what's something positive about California in your
My
district?
gosh, I could go off for days, but in and out Disneyland, like we literally, and Yosemite, like the mountains. But one of the most positive things, honestly, is whether you're red or blue or in the middle, we all kind of agree right now. We're so much more similar than we are different right now. And I think the media and lots of politicians try to make it seem like we don't agree on a lot of things, but all my friends, all of us, we really agree on a lot of stuff. And, I think it makes me hopeful that we're going to be making a lot of change here coming up soon.
Awesome. Well, Tim, I appreciate you joining the show. One thing that I can say is from an interview perspective, which I never endorse people, I always let the viewers decide. But you certainly, I don't think would be scared or nervous to speak in Congress since you've been able to perform on some of the biggest stages in the world, like
Yeah.
Coachella and things like that. So
Yeah.
I appreciate how you're ready to get started and get
Absolutely.
working. And when you put your
Yes.
mind to something, you do it very well because the level
Oh,
you've been
thank you.
able to make it to in music is not something
Thank
that
you.
everybody can do. So I really appreciate that about yourself. And we wish you all the best. Well, I should
Thank
say
you,
I,
Jacob.
because this is not a show with 30 people. So I wish you the best in it and that you're
Thank you,
able to get
Jacob.
out there to the voters and make your case
I appreciate that a
and
lot.
keep writing good songs on the side and playing your guitar.
Oh, thank you. Well, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an awesome job.
Thank you so much.